Okay, welcome everybody. I'd would like to make sure that everybody is online here, so feel free just to type in your first name and maybe where you're from. Let's just make sure that our chat box is working properly here. Okay, so give us your first name and just where you're from. See some of them coming in now. Rachel in Calgary, Sally in West Kelowna, Coralie in Kelowna. So it looks like all systems are go here. Of course, the challenge of doing a webinar for me as compared to doing a live event is really engagement. I'm very used to working with people like yourself in a live setting where there's lots of engagement. I'm able to ask questions and you're able to respond, and that really is what creates a dynamic program. So that will be a little bit challenging. This will be a lot about the content of connections, and so hopefully you'll take the time to respond, ask some questions in the chat box, and we'll create some engagement that way. So I am Terry Lige, and I'm the founder of Inside Out Leadership Development Group. I've been a coach, counselor, and facilitator now for over 35 years. I really do appreciate everyone joining me for this insight into the Connections workshop. My hope is that it will provide you with insight and inspiration to create the changes you want in your life. I'm best known for running personal and professional workshops for this past 20 years. These workshops are 3 to 5 days in length and utilize a dynamic, interactive teaching model to assist people in creating the changes they are looking for. The program I'm going to discuss today is called Connections. It is the first of a series of 3 programs that create an irresistible momentum for change for those who choose to attend and for those who really want change. For years now, individuals who have attended Connections have asked me how they can tell friends and family about their experience at Connections. The experience is often profound, but difficult to share with people that have no context for experiential learning. So this is my attempt to talk about this dynamic, life-changing program and make it understandable to those who have attended and to those who have not. I would also like to share this information about Connections and Inside Out Leadership through the lens of my journey to personal change. I consistently remind myself that the person who most benefits from running these programs is me. It is crucial for me to constantly check in on how my choices and my actions are either creating positive, healthy outcomes or how they are creating negative, unhealthy ones. I want to acknowledge my humanity and admit that some of my choices have been the cause of pain and fallout for myself and for those I love and I work with. So I want to tell you some of my story and let you in on how I have created powerful, effective change in my life and how I've integrated what I have learned into my programs. For those of you who are hearing about Connections for the first time, my hope is that this will be the beginning of the changes you really need and want in your life. And for those of you who have attended some of my programs, it is my hope that this information will assist you in making sense of your own experience and provide you with some language to share with others. In effect, I hope this will connect some dots for all of us as we pursue the challenging task of personal growth. If I was to identify who I am and what I am all about, I would say that I am a change facilitator. I like to think of myself as a change agent, but that makes me sound too much like the James Bond of personal development. Although I'm pretty sure that some of you that have attended my workshops have definitely felt more shaken than stirred. In a statement, my purpose in life and work is to help people create the personal change they need to achieve the hopes and dreams they want. I have seen over 5,000 people attend, whom have testified that Connections was one of the most powerful weekends of their lives, and that I have been instrumental in saving their lives and their relationships. I know that that may seem like a bit of an exaggerated claim, but it is not an overstatement, I believe, in the least. Here's a testimonial of just one person that has gone through Connections. Here's what they said. Dear Terry, the Inside Out experience was the most powerful event of my life. I was very skeptical and unsure if this process would work for me, but I was wrong. The skills and tools I have learned at Connections, deeper connections, and character of leadership have changed how I feel. I am healthier mentally and physically. I loved it so much I sent my husband, my 2 daughters, and 1 son. My relationship with my husband and children has taken a new path. We talk and discuss many issues. My husband has moved through some very difficult memories and has faith and hope again. It has provided me with the foundation to create healthy boundaries, to be present and live and live with integrity. Thanks, Terry, and your wonderful team. For some of you that have gone through my programs, I'm sure that you have your own testimony, and I want you just to consider that as we continue to go through these notes. So here's some of my personal journey. I will let you in on some of the steps I took to create profound personal change in my own life and how it can do the same for you. Step 1 requires honesty with self. I had to acknowledge that I needed change. I realized pretty early on in my career, before I could help others to change, before I could help people to achieve their dreams, I had to learn how to achieve that for myself. Once I could acknowledge my need for change, I had to evaluate the results I was creating in my life. I had to ask myself, what is not working in my life? I want to highlight at this point the importance of asking yourself the right questions. Generally speaking, when I am not willing to be honest with myself and asking myself the right questions, I am justifying and explaining away a life that is not working. What is not working in your life is a good question to ask yourself. As you evaluate some of the results in your life, can you honestly say that there are results that are really not working for you? That kind of honesty with yourself is where change begins. One of the most painful seasons of my life occurred between the ages of 15 and 25. My father died when I was 15, and one of the outcomes of the emotional trauma of that event was my development of a severe anxiety disorder. In those years, I struggled with panic attacks and lived in constant fear of reoccurring anxiety. I was always conscious of situations and places that would trigger my anxiety, so I lived a life of avoidance. Because of that life of avoidance, I was very limited with where I could go and what I could do. It was very frustrating, and I constantly lived with disappointment in myself. How many of you can identify with living a life of avoidance? Maybe just indicate that in the chat there that you have struggled with some of that life of avoidance. Thank you. Appreciate the responses. Many of you saying yes. Most devastating of all were the thoughts and feelings I had about myself. I was filled with self-judgment and, at times, self-hatred. I realized that I had lots of hopes and dreams that were unrealized, and I was continuing to live a life of fear and avoidance. I continued to do the same things over and over again, hoping that by some divine intervention, my feelings would magically and miraculously change, and I would be free to chase my dreams. It reminds me of what Albert Einstein once said: the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and experiencing or expecting different results. At some point, I realized that my life was not going to change by itself. I had to stop explaining away my state and accept that I had a real problem that needed a very specific kind of attention if I was going to get better. Once I accepted the reality of my problem and took ownership of it, I stopped running from the reality of my life. This represented a real turning point for me. Maybe some of you can relate. You continue to explain away what is not working in your life and justify why you are where you are. Again, feel free at any point just to add your thoughts or your comments, maybe any questions that you have as we continue on here. A second powerful turning point came for me when I stopped looking at the external circumstances of my life as the problem. In other words, I stopped looking at the circumstances that were triggering my panic attacks, and I started to look at the beliefs, the thoughts, and feelings that were driving my avoidance behaviors. As I looked internally, I discovered that I was caught in a self-destructive loop of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. I believed that I was not in control of my emotions and ultimately not in control of my life, which created fear and anxiety and drove my avoidance behavior. So I began to really pay attention to what I was thinking when my anxiety was triggered. For example, one of the most debilitating thoughts was, "There's something wrong with me." For years, I believed that I had a mental illness and I was losing my mind. When I realized that I was just struggling with anxiety, I began to tell myself when triggered that this is just anxiety and it will pass. It is just. That kind of self-awareness was transformative, but ultimately it was not enough. I discovered that changing my thoughts was powerful for changing some of my results, but I needed something else to happen that would powerfully reinforce the change of my emotions. Understanding the role of my emotions is crucial to the process of change. All motivation is attached to how it makes me feel. I really want you to keep track of that, this whole issue of how motivation is attached to feelings and how crucial the role of feelings are to change in our lives. The answer came when I realized that changing my behaviors is what changed the way that I felt. If I really wanted to change some of the results in my life, I would have to be willing to change some of my behaviors. Change results do not happen without changed behavior. So I had to be willing to do some things differently in my life to create those different results. About this time in my life, I discovered a phrase that served as a blueprint for change. It goes, be committed to do what it takes to have what you want. The phrase breaks down into 3 questions. Again, the importance of questions. These are questions that I consistently ask myself to keep me on track with the changes I want. They constantly point me in the direction of achieving my hopes and my dreams. So here are these three crucial life-changing questions. First of all, what do you want? Secondly, what is the commitment you need to make to you to create what you want? And thirdly, what will it take to create what you want? And connected to that, what will you do differently today? So I want you to remember these three questions because they really do serve as the blueprint for change. We will come back to these questions in a little bit. So those three questions really serve as the framework for the 3-day Connections workshop. Again, I will be taking you back through those questions and provide some insight, into each one. But before I look more closely at those three questions, I want to tell you a little bit about the two groups of people who attend Connections. Group number one are really for those that need it. Some people attend Connections weekend programs because they really need a change in their lives. They recognize that there are areas of their lives that are really not working, and they want to create a positive shift and potentially a new season. The second group are really those who want it. This group acknowledges that they are students of life. They recognize that life is a journey and they want to continue to learn and grow as individuals who want to live well. Too often people look at this work as just for those who are broken and need fixing. But that is far from the truth. Most profoundly, it is for those who want to be healthy and excel in every area of life, from meaningful work to healthy relationships. So my question for you, which group do you believe you belong to? Just write down the word beside your name, either need or want. Again, those that really need it are those that are looking for a change and really in need of a change. Those who want it really acknowledge that they are students and they want to do their life well. Maybe it is about doing relationship well, about doing work well. Thank you. Your responses are coming in. Some of you are saying that it is both, and I certainly understand that. I can say that about my own life. Coralie has written here, you have been an inspiration to me that has changed my life. And in Connections, you gave me the tools to look inside myself, find the answers to change my future. I needed it in the beginning, but now I want it. So thank you for that response, Coralie. I think that's really profound. And I think that's really true for many of us, that we start from the place of need. We really acknowledge that we have some things that need to change in our lives. But as we really begin to do the work, we realize that this is a journey. It is a lifelong process. And so we need to keep working as students in it. And that's actually one of my challenges leading this work, is really how to keep people working, continue to be students, so that you continue to really improve your life. Again, thank you for your responses. So getting back to those questions, every connections program begins with the question, what do you want? What are your hopes and dreams? And really, what is the change you're looking for? I think the question, what do you want, is maybe the most important initial question for every person that begins connections and works through deeper connections and exceptional life, gaining clarity about what it is that you really, really want. And then, how do you achieve those hopes and dreams? So maybe you have a bit of clarity about what it is that you want. The second really big part of that is, how do you achieve those? So here's been the challenge that I've been faced with as a facilitator, coach, a counselor. Over the past 30 years, I've worked with thousands of people who are passionate about their desire to create personal and professional change. They wanted to achieve their hopes and dreams, but often were not clear about what those hopes and dreams were, and if they had some, how to achieve them. That can result in lots of confusion, frustration, and disappointment. Helping individuals to find answers to these crucial life questions really is the essence of the work. So, in a word or two, identify what it is that you want. Again, I would appreciate your responses. Identify in a word or two what it is that you want. As you consider what you're looking for in your life, what kind of change you're looking for in your life, what kind of outcomes, what kind of hopes, what kind of dreams, what is it that you want? One word or two words just to identify what it is that you really want. Freedom from fears, freedom from fear again. That's a pretty common theme. Healthy relationships, inner peace, positive self-talk. Appreciate your responses. It doesn't take a lot of imagination to see that we're looking for some very similar things. So let's look at some of the things that people have identified really over the years as things that they're really looking for. First of all, self-awareness. Individuals like you want to know why they do what they do. They want to know what motivates them in healthy and unhealthy ways. People want to overcome their struggle with self-judgment and self-doubt and view themselves with acceptance and respect. People like yourself want to manage their thoughts and emotions in a healthier way so that they make healthier choices. People like yourself want to experience more positive emotions and less negative, painful ones. Individuals like yourself want to feel your lives and not be lulled into an emotionally flat existence. I think that's a really important part of the work that we do, is around feeling, and especially feeling your life, feeling some of the happiness and contentment. So here are some of those positive emotions that some of you have already mentioned that consistently come up. And this is really quite interesting, because when asked what you really want, a lot of people really focus on emotions. So emotions like contentment, fulfillment, peace, passion, happiness, joy, fun, laughter, meaning, and of course, love. And so those are just some of the emotions that people are really desperately wanting more of in their lives. Positive emotions. It is the deep emotional payoff that people are most looking for. You may think you are looking for more money, bigger homes, or fancier cars, or maybe even more lavish holidays, but they're only a means to an emotional reward. The question is, how do we create that kind of emotional payoff without needing all the external stimulation to experience it? People like yourself are wanting a greater sense of purpose. You want to make a difference in this world and be a part of making your world a better place to live. You want to leave a legacy that you can be proud of and that people will admire. So a consistent theme has been about relationships, wanting healthy relationships, not just wanting relationship, because being in just a relationship can actually be very negative, but healthy relationships. You want deeper, more meaningful relationship. You want to communicate in ways that are effective. Individuals like you want to love and be loved. Most of you want real satisfying work. You want to be a part of a workplace that utilizes your unique skills and gifts. You want to work in a culture that recognizes your contribution and appreciates your work. Here's one that is really important to me. Individuals like you, and I have to say like me as well, want to feel comfortable in your own skin. You want the freedom to be your authentic, true self without the constant need for acceptance and approval from others. Some people are just looking for a safe place to heal the hurts of the past and move into a healthier future. That is certainly something that happens in connections. And finally, individuals like you attend because you want to be a confident leader of your life and a positive role model for others. I contend that we are all leaders. It is a matter of whether we are leaders by design or leaders by default. Personal development provides a means to become leaders by design. And I imagine that because you're here in this presentation and because, Rams, that you really are individuals that want to be leaders by design. So moving back to my personal story, As I look back on some of those difficult days when I struggled with my anxiety disorder, I could say that I wanted all of the above, but I did not have the awareness then. What I most wanted as I struggled was to have the personal freedom to be my true, authentic self. I wanted to set aside the personal limitations that were holding me back and experience the freedom to be fully me. I wanted the understanding and discipline to manage my emotions and not allow them to hijack me and keep me stuck in avoidance. I wanted to live courageously and confidently, and I wanted to discover my personal power, realize my potential, and make a difference in this world. If these are some of the hopes and dreams that you have, then connections can help you to achieve your hopes and your dreams. Again, that first question, what do you want? Question number 2 is, what is the commitment you need to make to have what you want? This is a commitment to you. My commitment to self was not to allow fear to govern how I lived. I committed to making the hard choice and doing the hard thing so that I could discover my courage and build my confidence. So, what is the commitment you need to make to you? Again, feel free to provide some of your answers on the chat board. What is the commitment that you need to make to you? Again, I appreciate you checking in and providing some of your personal answers. To be authentic, no matter where and who I am with. I think that's certainly crucial. It's a great commitment to yourself. Something to think about. My hope is that you'll really take some of these questions away with you today, and when you have a little bit more time, maybe answer them for yourself. Honesty with self and asking the hard questions. Dedication to change at the expense of comfort. I think these are great answers and real great commitments to yourself. So what do you want? What is the commitment you need to make to you to have what you want? And then the third question is really, what will it take to create what you want? What will it take to create what you want? And more specifically, what are you willing to do differently today? And I add the today because it is a today question. It's a daily question. What are the things I need to do today to change some of those outcomes that are not working in my life? I became proactive and began to take the initiative anytime I felt like my fears and insecurities were dictating my actions. I began to take educated risks. I learned that there were some exceptional behaviors that accelerated my growth and produced some amazing outcomes in every area of my life. I called these behaviors bridges to change. So it is one thing to seek out some of those different behaviors, doing it differently. But again, ramping it up to another level is about identifying some of those bridges to change, exceptional attitudes and behaviors. So here are some of those exceptional bridges that we can utilize to support our action plan. Honesty, vulnerability, trust, determination, commitment, compassion, forgiveness, patience, discipline, gratitude, faith, courage, acceptance, and love. So over the last many years, I have really looked for these exceptional attitudes and behaviors and integrated them into my experiential programs. They are really the turning point for so many people, the catalyst for creating change. Once you choose honesty and vulnerability, trust, determination, commitment, these kinds of behaviors, it's amazing how there can be explosive change. And again, for some of you that have been going through these programs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So as you consider this list and you consider what it is that you really want, going back to that question, what is it that you really want? What's the change that you want? What do you want more of in your life? What are some of the bridges you really need to grab hold of, integrate, apply, utilize in your life today so that you can create the change that you're looking for? Again, feel free to add your word. What is the bridge that you really need right now to create what you want? Again, I appreciate everybody's participation. I know that many of you, again, have been in some of these workshops with me, so a little bit different format than being face-to-face and really being able to engage and interact around some of these questions. But I do really appreciate you sharing your thoughts and your words. Courage, forgiveness, and trust. Yeah, your words are coming up now. So as again, I look back on that challenging time in my life, my motto in those days was really mirrored the Nike ad that declared boldly, just do it. And I grabbed hold of my courage and found opportunities to overcome. The results really were life-changing. This approach is grabbing hold of my bridges, being clear about what I wanted, being clear about the commitments I needed to make to myself, really looking at what I needed to be doing differently in my life, grabbing hold of a bridge, really created an amazing momentum, for breakthroughs. So it really changed the way I thought about myself. I began to believe that I could do whatever I set my mind to. That in turn changed my feelings. My courage was ignited, which built my confidence. I felt more passionate about my life. I was excited and energized to face whatever challenges I was faced with. I really believed that I could make a difference in this world and help people with some of the same issues I struggled with. So much so that it became my career. So today, as a bridge, I'm grateful, which is a bridge, for what's happened in my life, and I appreciate the results, stepping into the challenge, and ultimately taking what I was learning, how I created change in my own life, to help others with the change. So I want to answer the question, why is Connections such a dynamic program? And how does it work? The power of Connections is really about experiential learning. I run interactive workshops that utilize engagement. I provide interactive exercises and processes that help you determine what your hopes and dreams are and how you can begin to achieve those hopes and dreams. The key factor in creating the change you want comes when the knowledge of what you want becomes the experience of what you want. So I want to say that again because it really is the key in terms of creating the change that you want. The knowledge of what you want becomes the experience of what you want. It is a very dynamic, transformative process that generates personal breakthroughs. An important part of the Connections journey is first to gather information about you and your story. It is what will provide you with a foundation for self-awareness. During the program, we ask you to spy on yourself. As you consistently check in on your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you begin to see clearly what is working for you and what is not working for you. Ultimately, I want to challenge you to do more of what works and less of what doesn't. So you become more aware of what your hopes and dreams are, what it is that you really desperately want for your life. But it also provides information and awareness around how you sabotage your hopes and dreams through self-judgment and self-doubt. Self-judgment actually is the great dream buster. So you're provided opportunities to overcome self-judgment, self-doubt, and achieve your hopes and dreams. This is important information. It does create self-awareness. But gaining that kind of knowledge about you, while it is valuable, it is not enough. You can learn about something, have some insight and understanding about that something. However, knowledge does not necessarily change you. It can be objective and impersonal. So my example of that is really the kind of knowledge that we gather in our lives, kind of information that we gather on a regular basis. So we read self-help books. We watch people like Oprah and Dr. Phil on television. And, we have this incredible opportunity to learn all kinds of things about ourselves. But to do that can be very objective and very impersonal. So if I'm sitting on the couch and I'm watching these profound experts in self-help and self-development, it doesn't mean that I will actually get off the couch and do something about what I am learning. And that's the key. Learning information, having some knowledge is just that. It's knowledge. So something more is required, and that something more is really all about having an experience. As you participate in the exercises and connections, the information you have been gathering about you becomes personal and alive. That's the key transformation. Objective, impersonal information becomes personal and alive. Experience draws out feelings, and feelings ultimately require a choice from you. And I want to say that again because that's crucial to the process. Experience draws out feelings, and feelings ultimately require a choice from you. Uncomfortable, even painful feelings either expose your self-judgments or your self-confidence. Self-judgment drives fear and avoidance. Self-confidence drives courage and participation. So the question for you, and the question really for every person that participates in these programs is, what do you want to be the driving force in your life? What do you want to be the driving force in your life? Self-judgment or self-confidence? Self-judgment or self-confidence? Again, having an experience draws out your feelings and provides you with this choice. So feel free again to respond in the chat there. What do you want driving your life? I know it's maybe even a silly question, because it seems like a no-brainer that we all want self-confidence driving the boat, but truth is, for many of us, we really still struggle with self-judgment that leads to a lot of avoidance in our lives. For me, this next piece is really the key to everything. Change the way you feel about yourself. I want to change the way you feel about yourself and your life so that you can realize your hopes and dreams. So really from the beginning, Friday evening, when people walk into a program, some feeling quite anxious, not understanding what they're going to be going through, what they're going to be facing. I think the challenge of doing any kind of personal development, learning something about yourself. And to see those people by Sunday afternoon, people like yourself that have gone through connections, alive, feeling empowered, feeling loved. It really changes everything. And the difference is quite simple. It is about the way you feel about yourself. So, how do I change how I feel about myself and my life? I need to take the experience I've had, and I need to embrace new behavior. Change requires changed behavior. To overcome avoidance, which is really the problem, which is really the challenge, you have to take the risk to participate. For that reason alone, getting into a room and working with a group of people is why it's absolutely crucial and necessary for every person to have that experience. I want to encourage you to do the things that empower you. Think about some of those things. What is it that really empowers you? Step into your courage. Which will build your confidence. Which will allow you to participate in your dreams. This is the path. And so again, ask yourself, what do you need to do? Grab your courage, build your confidence, participate in your life. Connection Workshop provides you the opportunity to make the choice to doing differently and to reinforce that choice over and over and over again to become a participant in your life, not just an observer. Once you discover the behaviors that will build your confidence and create the changes you're looking for, it is about consistently reinforcing those behaviors until you secure the healthy lifestyle you want. Doing it differently and repeating. I heard somebody once say that to develop a new habit in your life, you have to step into that new habit for 27 straight days. We have bad habits that we have reinforced in a lifetime, but to create a new habit, it is stepping into it daily, reinforcing it until it becomes our lifestyle. So here's my challenge for each of you. For those of you that have attended and those of you that have not, I encourage you to take action. Be committed to do what it takes to have what you want. Be committed to do what it takes to have what you want. Going over those powerful questions once again. What do you want? More love and respect for yourself and others, a greater sense of purpose and meaning, healthier relationships, self-discipline necessary to manage thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, more passion, more joy, more confidence, more peace and contentment. Do you want self-awareness to make healthier choices? Do you want to have more fun and adventure in your life? Do you want hope, optimism to create a brighter future? So, what do you want? What is the commitment that you need to make to you? What is the commitment you need to make to you to have what you want? And finally, what are you willing to do differently today? What are you willing to do differently today? Many of you are ready to transform good information about yourself into life-changing experience. Connections will provide you with a dynamic opportunity to achieve the changes you are looking for. I encourage you to take hold of your courage, take the risk that will change your life. So some of you, again, are individuals that have been at some of my programs. I want to encourage you to continue to show up. There are opportunities almost every second weekend for a program. So assisting at a program is a choice that every alumni has. There are programs that come along that are secondary programs, like the one I'm running this weekend, which is called Ego. So I encourage you to look at the opportunities to be involved. Now, for those of you that have not been to a Connections program, I really want to encourage you to ask yourself what you want, the changes that you want, what's the commitment that you are willing to make to yourself, and what will you do? This opportunity is something that you really can do. And so this particular webinar is going to be on our website. And for those of you that are looking for an opportunity to register, you can do that online. The next date for Connections is December 2nd through the 4th. Or there's another one, January 27th through the 29th of 2017. Our office number is 778-753-6615. Feel free to call Donna to register or to ask for any information that you're looking for. The cost of connections is $3.95, but we're getting close to Christmas, so I thought I would offer you a gift for today because you are here listening to this program for $2.95. So take an option to really gift yourself. I can't think of anything you could do better for yourself in December than to take this opportunity to change your life. I look forward to working with you in the very near future. Together we can create the change we need as individuals and be a force for the change our world needs. Thanks everybody for checking in today and listening to this. I encourage everybody to let others know that this will be available. This webinar will be available on our website, and I know that many will listen to it, after we've finished recording it today. So thanks again. Look forward to seeing you all very soon. Bye for now.